and continue the conversation. And it is my honor to have with us today our incredible moderator, Hala Khouri, who is the co-founder of Off the Mat and Into the World. She is a somatic counselor and a social justice educator and will guide us through today's conversation. Please welcome Hala.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody, it's so nice to see you all. Before I introduce our incredible panel, I feel like I would love to take a moment to share with you all. I heard this request, what's the exercise that we do for anxiety and for mental health? And the guys talked about meditation. So if you all will indulge me for a moment, I am a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher and a trauma therapist. And I heard so much wisdom on this stage, and so I'm wondering if I might offer you one of the tools that I've seen that works. How many of you in this room struggle with anxiety sometimes? So look around, because you're not alone, right? Because shame is one of the first things that prevents us from healing. And one way to think about anxiety is that it's sensations in our body that are intolerable. And we want to run away because they're connected potentially to trauma. And the more we run away, what happens? It gets worse. So one tool that I have used and shared with folks is the tool of grounding. Grounding our energy so that we can bear witness and feel the pain. And usually when we let ourselves feel something, it reduces our suffering just a little bit. The Buddhists say that there's necessary suffering and unnecessary suffering. So I'm going to invite you right now to just feel your feet on the floor or your butt in the chair. Feel what in your own body connects you to the earth right now. And if you're holding something in your heart that's too much for you to bear, can you ask the earth to hold it with you? And maybe you take a couple of breaths as you offer that energy to the earth. And maybe you can let your grounding allow you to stay present, even if it's painful. Because one thing I know is the more we try to run away from our pain, we're also running away from our beauty. And so just take one more really deep breath in and let it go with a sigh. All right, so with that, with us grounded and breathing, I want to introduce our panel. I'm going to invite you all to come and have a seat. And this is one of my favorite parts, is to read their badass bios. And I'm going to start over here with Paco Retana. For more than 29 years, Paco's continued passion has been serving the vulnerable youth and marginalized communities in Los Angeles as a mental health expert. As Vice President of Programs at LACGC, he is responsible for all clinical programs, including strategic planning, program evaluation, and training. And he directly oversees 7 division directors and 115 therapists and service providers in the area. As Vice President, he initiates and implements program changes to meet new funding streams for innovative prevention programs, including LACGC's integrated services model in concert with a primary care partner. Paco previously served as a mental health clinical supervisor with direct oversight of clinical supervision of school-based mental health services in the South Los Angeles inner city schools for Green Dot Public Schools. Paco developed and implemented comprehensive, culturally sensitive mental health services in this position. And in his previous roles as the Regional Director of Community Mental Health Services at Children's Institute, Inc., and as the Director of Outpatient Services at LACGC. So much. Paco's been a voting member for 7 years of the Department of Mental Health Systems Leadership Team and advisory body to the Director of DMH. Paco currently serves as the co-chair of the Service Area Advisory Committee in South LA, co-chair of the Latino Underserved Cultural Communities Committee for DMH, board president of the Visionary Youth Center, and as a UCLA graduate student associate alumni representative. There's like 4 of him, by the way. I don't know how to do all that. All right, I'm going to skip over to Paco, is the recipient of the Humanitarian Award from the National Conference for Community and Justice. He's a licensed clinical social worker and earned both his bachelor's degree in psychology and his master's in social welfare from UCLA. Welcome, Paco. Thank you for being here. Next, we have Najiba Sayed. Am I saying it right? Associate Professor of Interreligious Education at Claremont School of Theology. She has a long history of award-winning community-based peace building in Los Angeles. She has served as past Executive Director of Asian Pacific American Dispute Resolution Center and Western Justice Center. She was twice awarded the John Anson Ford Award for her work in interethnic high school conflicts and interracial gang conflicts. She has developed restorative justice programs for several schools and is a mediator as well for many conflicts. Her forthcoming book, Experiments in Empathy on Interfaith Peace Education, will be available in November 2018. She is particularly interested in addressing community-based trauma as a result of state violence. Najiba, thank you. And finally, we have Dr. Akil Bashir, who's been described as one of the nation's most premier violence intermediation professionals, elite public safety experts, and hardcore gang intervention specialists. Damn. In society today, he is recognized as being at the top of the league of a pinnacle of specialists in an area of discipline and acknowledged as one of the most accomplished authorities in his field. He instructs and consults worldwide. He founded Professional Community Intervention Training Institute International, the nation's first practitioner-based, professionally certifying 18-week community violence intercession gang intervention training institute. He also founded License to Operate and the nonprofit Brotherhood Unified for Independent Leadership through Discipline Program. PCITI International has trained a multitude of cities through the United States and globally. Dr. Bashir is also highly regarded adjunct professor for Alliant University International. So his training sessions have garnered international attention and support, having traveled the world all over, working with teams in Brazil, SWAT teams from Argentina, elite executive protection specialists from Africa, private crisis elimination teams from London. Private crisis elimination teams, I need one of those sometimes. Public safety experts from Beijing, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. Gang intercession specialists in El Salvador, and emergency responders, peacekeeping intervention experts all over the United States. He's provided his expertise in Geneva, Switzerland to the World Health Organization. Almost there. To guide international violence prevention. So Akil has appeared in countless documentaries and short films. He's received awards and honors, much too numerous to list, including the exalted Doctorate of Letters in Humanities from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology and the celebrated California Peace Prize from the California Wellness Foundation. Dr. Akil Bashir. Thank you. I cut some of that out, so you have to fill this in. So our time is short, and so I wanted to ask a broad enough question so you all could hear about the specific and really incredible work that these panelists are doing. So the first question I want to ask you all is, what brings you to this work? Very often it's our own personal wounds that we transform into our gifts, as you've already heard up here with our speakers before. So I'm going to start with you first, Baco. Tell us, what brings you to this work?
Well, thank you very much for having this opportunity and being here with these my peers and my friends. Really, I knew early on that I had a passion, I had compassion for people. I mean, it's that simple. There's no major tragedy. There was something about me wanting to work with young folks. I gravitated when I was in junior high school, as we used to call it back then. There was a lot of gangs where I grew up, a lot of youth, what we call now vulnerable youth, and they were my friends, and I had a passion for their struggles, and I was always perplexed with why their family was, some of my friends at that time, their families were either there was only one parent in the home, they were struggling economically, and that just broke my heart, and that's been my journey. It's something that I've been relentless about. I was what, 12 years old, 11 years old, curious about that. I was myself, got involved in some trouble in junior high school, but I had really good mentors and parents to keep me out of that. So that's been a passion of mine. I love what I do, and I wouldn't be doing anything else other than this type of work. So I love the nobility to it, and again, thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Najiba.
So when I was 14 years old, I wasn't able to travel back to the country that I was born in, Kashmir, because it was a place of such violence. So finally, when we became US citizens, we were able to travel back. So not all of us come here because we're leaving a place that's safe for us. A lot of us come here involuntarily. So I came here and I went back when I was 14 and I got off the airplane to the place that I was born that I hadn't been able to go back to since I was 3 years old. And every 50 feet was a man with an AK-47, because this was a part of the world where there is to every 8 people, 1 military person. So for me, violence prevention was in my blood. Violence prevention was what I was born into because I was born into violence. And what I realized was when I came back to the United States at the age of 14, that if I didn't work in my own neighborhood, that the violence that was gripping my country would be gripping my new country, which was the United States of America. And something that hit me was that it wasn't that I was less than anybody else, but my existence is sacred. Your existence is sacred. Can you say it? I am sacred. I am sacred. I am sacred. I am sacred. We are sacred. We are sacred. So the reason that these systems are organized against us is not because we don't have power, it's because we've survived systems that have tried to take our bodies again and again and again. And it's because you are so sacred. Because you are so amazing. Because you and I, we are witness to injustice. Your body existing is a witness to the injustice of the systems that have worked against us. So you better take that sacred power, and this is the time to realize that you and I, and together, we are powerful and we are sacred.
How's everybody doing? How you really doing? And let me ask you to do something. Look to the person to your left, right, stand up and embrace them and tell them I see you at the top. Now, make them feel good. Stand up and embrace them.
Thank you.
You know, let me keep it real. All them titles don't mean nothing. It's not about living on past reputation. It's about what you're doing now. What drew me into this work was understanding the pain of my people, understanding the pain of the community I came from. I came from the culture. I came from one of the most violent cultures that most people would run and hide from. Devastation, destruction, psychological redirection. I can go on and on and on. There's so much blood on my hands and so much blood that I've been through. I've had to piece so many families together. I've had to piece so many communities together. And all the time sucking up the trauma, not realizing the devastation that it was causing upon me, but understanding because I knew that pain that I had to make sure those people that I served, and let me get this real clear, when you step into a marginalized community, you are there to serve. They are not there to listen to you from a position of superiority. You are there to hopefully provide hope, implement proactive solutions through self-determination and self-reliance. And if you understand that, if you understand the destructive pain of what the people feel, you will understand it's a mandated responsibility that if you have any expertise whatsoever, you have got to make sure answers and solutions are at the table. See, I don't embrace this work as a game. It's not something that I wear and a label. It's not the Saturday coat I take off when Friday comes and say I want to do this work. You live this work 24/7. If you on the ground, you feel this work. You suffer with this work. And let me tell you something, this work will drive you crazy. I'm as crazy as hell, but it's that crazy